What's happening in the canine industry? For all the latest news, views, and expert opinions, stay right here for the Canine Paradigm. You'll hear from industry leaders, experts, doyens of the industry, learned colleagues, movers and shakers, and the odd randy guest. Get the latest insights and expert advice from both here and abroad from the people in the know. Now, here are your hosts, Glenn Cooke and Pat Stuart. And I'm Lofty Fulton, and I'm out of here.
Glenda?
Yes.
We have to do a new ad.
We do.
It's a solemn time. Our long-time sponsor of the show, George Kittredge,
Yes.
very, very sadly passed away. And we formerly used to advertise for him his Rowdy Hound boxes.
We did.
So we don't actually know what's happened with Rowdy Hound boxes. You know anything about that?
I looked at the website. It said that they're recalibrating since their founder and boss has passed. But nonetheless, I think that you and I want to honour the memory of George Kittredge anyway. He was a friend to both of us, a hell of a good guy, and he supported us almost immediately. He was on board through and through, and I just don't want any of us to forget George. He was a terrific human being.
So we intend to continue to advertise Rowdy Hound, even though we don't know what's going on with them.
Yep.
In the hopes that they keep going, and that can be a bit of George's legacy that we're able to continue to promote.
I hope so.
In checking it out, we had a look to see, because we're not real good with the sponsorship. So we had a look to see who's actually paying for sponsorship. And we have a list of people to tell you that we support. And the first is our sugar mama, Barbara de Groot.
She's been with us from the start as well. Barbara's been an absolute staple in our...
She's a gem.
She is a gem.
She has a business.
She does. From the Heart Dog Training.
From the Heart Dog Training.
Yep.
You can check it out. But she supports us as much and more than anybody ever has. So we appreciate you very much, Barbara. Another person who's supported us from the start.
The Einzelwiener.
Einzelwiener.
The Bullfed.
The Bullfed.
Yep.
It's where I get all my stuff.
Yeah.
It is, truly. It's where I get all my dog gear. If I need something, Jason's my first point of call. I don't use his shit website. He has a website. It's dog shit. I just message him directly. You guys probably should use his shit website, but I don't.
Yeah, because you don't want to message him directly and get his grumpy ire of the day.
Yeah, but do it. Get all your dog stuff from Jason. He's got everything you need. He's got all the shit that you need to train a dog for realty.
Everybody who comes to seminars and looks at meals and asks me meals questions, ask Jason.
Yeah.
Jason can point you in the right direction for getting the meal that's best suited for you.
I really like his leashes. I'm a big fan of his leash pack. That's why I sort of convinced him to do it. But anyway, get your stuff from Einzelwiener.
Yep.
Do you know who has a fantastic website and ships internationally?
My wife?
Your wife,
Yeah.
Canine-Suticals.
I couldn't imagine her not having a good website, how much of a perfectionist she is.
Well, the products are amazing. My dog merely being alive is a walking testimonial to that. My dog, who I've retired numerous times and has come out of retirement when I've managed to get his body back to healthy. And a big part of that is related to Canine-Suticals. So check it out, everybody.
I could say so many nice and biased things about Canine-Suticals and my wife, but what I will say is ignore me. Just look at testimonials. The testimonials speak for themselves. That's where the field trials are working. What makes Narelle's day, and mine as well, is when people are emailing in and sending messages of, well, primarily people have had no hope in the past because just everything that they were trying wasn't working, and now it is. And that is the testament that something is actually really working. And the other thing which I will add, one of the things that Narelle's told me in the past is dogs are incapable of understanding the placebo effect.
Oh, that's a good point.
So you can fake it on a human, but you can't fake it on a dog.
I never thought about that before. That's actually a really good point.
Well, my wife's actually a very smart person.
There you go.
So she's told me that humans are subject to the placebo effect where dogs are not. So it either works or it doesn't on dogs.
There you go. That makes total sense.
Yep.
There's one other person who puts a fair amount of work into this show.
Yeah.
It's me.
Yeah. Funny about that.
And I have a digital product that you can buy. If you go to my website, seriousdogbusiness.com, right now I've got 2 courses available to you. The Overview, which is a small course where you could learn how I teach.
Yep.
But the other one is the Wave Tops, which is a bigger course. It's everything I know about dog training. Well, it's not everything. It's a lot of what I know about dog training.
Yeah,
Check it
terrific.
out.
Yeah.
$500 dues. That's all it's going to cost you.
I recommend it when people are saying, what do I do? How do I get in the industry? I recommend them to your course.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks,
Yeah.
sir. All right, on with the show. Welcome back to the Canine Paradigm. I'm your host, Pat Stuart, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Glenn Cooke.
Hello to my friend and hello friends out there in Dogland. Dogworld?
Dogland.
Yeah.
Dogworld.
Yeah.
Dogland?
Yeah.
Doglandia.
Why not? Indeed.
Doglandia. I want to start calling it that.
Doglandia.
Welcome to Doglandia. Hey, let's get into it. Last week, we put up a post. You said, hey, give us something funny to talk about. We did. We talked about dog shit. That was a long and drawn out topic. You know what's funny? Like, we've had some pretty personal stuff on the show. We've given away some like pretty amazing training advice. There's been a lot of many and various topics covered, but I've never received more feedback about an episode than when I was telling stories about having to deal with dog shit. Because I think relatability is the key. And I think that all of our audience can relate to having to deal with horrendous dog shit problems.
Mate, I have non-stop been getting poo stories from people all week. Either I've seen some of them posted up online, but a lot of them have come to DMs where people have just gone, hey, I got one for you. And I'm thinking, oh, do I really want to open this and read it? Now that I've mentioned this, I've got to talk about one that came into my DMs, and it's a friend of mine from the States, and they've got this big mastiff dog who's a beautiful dog, but allegedly one of their children took a dump, left it in the toilet, and the dog found it and started snacking on it. Oh. Yeah, I know. They were. That's exactly what I thought as well. So I'm not going to name and shame them online over it, but yeah, that's what I thought. But then Sue Chipperton got online and was talking about the time where she went and stayed at, I think it was a Marriott hotel or something like that. And she got into bed. As she got into bed and pushed her feet down under the sheets, she felt something squish and she pulled back the sheets, and some human had done a poo in the bed. And like, I think they kind of at one stage allegedly accused her of pooing in her own bed. And she's kind of like, no, that's not happening. And found out that there was possibly.
Wasn't that a Charlie Sheen Amber Heard thing?
Johnny Depp.
Blame the dog. Oh, yeah, Johnny Depp. Yeah. Sorry.
And Amber Heard allegedly pooed on the bed. Yeah.
Okay, we got to move on. We got to get away.
I know. We're going to get away from the poo stories.
The next topic that we had, let me find the actual quote, because it's definitely something that we should read fully so that we can blame our reader for what she said and we can elaborate. Okay, so Jessica Sutter says, she's a top contributor. Well done, Jessica.
Thanks, Jess.
How about something on stereotypes you see on dog-orientated social media? I find that stuff fascinating. Pet Insta is all doodles and golden retrievers hiking in Aspen, while the early 20s white girl account has 5 Mallies with $40,000 in gear and impact crates doing elaborate powder photo shoots and slow-mo bite work. Then you've got rescue account posting endless sob stories to trainers who never show themselves training clients' dogs, to the thirst traps and etc. Dog social media is a circus. LOL. What do you think about that, sir?
Yeah, it is a circus, and it reminds me vividly of, there's a trainer in California, name's Dylan, and he often posts some rants on there. And one which I actually found myself agreeing with, where he was talking about, people who get on there with their exceptionally well-trained dog, usually these days a Malinois, and they kind of make out to people, this is it, this is dog training, this is what you do with a dog, and this is how amazing that your dog will be. The point to that is these people are seasoned professionals. They've cherry-picked an incredible food and prey monster that will obliterate any scene that it's put into. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that these people don't have talent. They aren't talented dog trainers, and the dog doesn't have talent. But it's kind of like when you see an enormous jacked person and they try and make out they've never taken steroids or never done any of this sort of thing. But you know that they're a steroid junkie. They're literally pumping themselves full of gear. And it's not to say that they aren't disciplined, that they don't do the diets, that they don't feverishly work out in the gym and they don't do all that hard work, because they do. They actually do. And so do these dog trainers. Like, they're incredible dog trainers. They do remarkable and very gifted work. They're very talented, and I'm not completely scorning them. It's only the con on social media that I scorn. It's only trying to make out, oh, your dog will do this. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to slip into my DMs and I will help you create a dog like this. When they've got some crusty old dog that it turns its nose up at food, it's more interested in everything else. Like, it was born in the shallow end of the gene pool, or its gene pool was actually chlorinated. It's everything that the other dog that you're showing is not. And it won't become that dog. It never will. It just doesn't have the capability, or even, to use your phrase, the bandwidth to become that dog. It just won't be it. So those sort of things, they do drive me crazy. And I understand when Dylan mentions those sort of things, I look at that and say, I find myself agreeing with what you're saying, because there's a lot of facade and social media trickery that people then go, oh, I'm just a piece of shit. I can't have that dog. That's the part that I don't like. It's just that part there where the person comes away with this realization that I'm a complete and utter failure and I fucked up my dog, when there's no truth to that. Like, some of these dogs just don't have the capability. It's like saying every single person has the capability of becoming like a multi-billionaire. Every single person has the capability of becoming an elite Olympian athlete. Some of those capabilities or manifestations aren't as capable as what people think they are. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't try. It doesn't mean that you can't aspire to become the best possible version of yourself and your capability. It doesn't mean any of that. It doesn't mean give up. It just means that sometimes can accept, this is the best I can do. I've got one leg. I can't run fast like some of these people can, but I can hop like a motherfucker. I can do all these sort of things. I still can compete in other things. I can still do other things. I still have validity. I still have capability. And that's what I have found myself explaining to pet dog owners when I've gone out on the scene with them, when they have been very, very deflated when they're watching other dogs on the internet and they say, why isn't my dog like this? Why can't I achieve these dizzying heights? I said, your dog's a mastiff with low prey drive. That's why you're not going to be able to achieve this. But it doesn't mean that you can't have a wonderful pet, because this is a pet. You bought this dog to be a family pet. You didn't buy this dog to be a sporting dog champion. And I said, the amount of pet dog people in the world who outweigh every other class of dog out there in society, well and truly, percentage-wise, it's up in the 90% compared to sporting dog people. You need to understand that your dogs weren't designed, didn't have the gifting of these other dogs. That is the frustration. That's the thing that I see. Whereas I like it when people do have incredibly talented dogs, and they are incredibly talented trainers, and they do have these big drive monsters, and they say, this is a dog that I selected for a sport. And this is the cool things that I've done with this dog. It's amazing. I've enjoyed the journey with my dog. And with training and persistence and regular work and finding the right motivator, we can strive to get the best out of your dog. We can make things better than what they currently are. That's truthful. But that isn't often done in marketing, because marketing tells people, go for the jugular, man, like really oversell this and overstep it so you'll get people signing up. And that is frustrating. I know how frustrating that is to people. I know how crushed they are when they come away from that. But if you can sprinkle a bit of reality on that, a bit of truth to it as trainers and talk to people, then they can settle with it and they can feel at peace with what they actually have. Your thoughts?
Glenn, that's a really well put, quite well-rounded argument that covered a lot of bases. I'd like to present you the opposite and say, fuck you to that guy. I don't want a boring, slow dog. Right. So I agree with you. Everything you say, like I agree, because we're often showcasing the wrong skills. But here's one of the things that I push back against, because we hear this all the time, and it's actually on my list of like content to make. This is one of my things that I watched the same video you're talking about. And I remember thinking, if you had one of those dogs, you would turn it into a dangerous, reactive mess, you fucking idiot. Because people think that just because it's a Malinois doesn't mean it trains itself.
No, that's right. I agree.
Yeah, and you didn't say that, but this is like where I think about that. And this is what we often have people who don't have one of those dogs, nor do they want one, saying like, oh, don't look at trainers with their demo Malinois, look at that. And it's like, yeah, okay. Say you wanted to get like better at driving, right? And you turned up to your driving course day. Like I've done that. You've probably done a driving course, like, and same as to get a motorbike license in Australia, you have to go do a course, whether you know how to ride one or not, you got to go do a 2-day course. If the guy who's turning up to instruct me on how to be a better driver turns up in an AMG Mercedes, I usually then go, oh, good, right? Or if he turns up in a Nissan Skyline or something that is his personal car that he has decided, like, I have a really high skill set in this thing and I am going to put myself in a position to be able to flex that muscle as often as I want. And then he turns up to the lesson and there I am in my van and I go, hey, man, I need to learn how to drive this van better and I want to be able to do better things in this van. And he goes, yeah, man, like, I'll help you with the van because, like, I'm broadly skilled across these things because I enjoy driving fast. I have this AMG Mercedes, but but I'll happily get into your Volkswagen transporter van and show you how to like jalopy this thing around the track as good as can be.
Yeah, exactly.
But then I'm going to get back in my fucking AMG and do burnouts in front of you and fucking zoom out of here. And that's how I feel about like with my Malinois. So like when you see people, because this happens all the time, and I've got to like, I'm excited to talk about social media stereotypes because I've fit in a few different buckets. Like there's been some iterations of my social media, and I'm happy to shit on myself throughout those. But I was once a guy who just posted videos of the slow-mo cool shit of me doing stuff with my dog. It was during COVID. It was when I first got into making content that was putting effort into making content. And you remember we did a whole episode on it, like how I figured out that compression is the key, long lenses. So I was like, you know, I was 100 meters away from my camera with a telephoto lens so that gets the right amount of compression and it fits better onto a vertical screen. And now we see that all the time. Like everybody has figured that out. We see you go to a dog sport trial, the photographers are not using, the photographers maybe are, but the videographers are not up close with a 24, 35, 50 mil lens. They're as far away as they can get with a like 70 to 200. So you'll see it like all the events, like typically 70 to 200 lenses are white cases. I don't know why, but like you look at all the footage of the videographers at good trials and making cool stuff is they're off the field. They're out of the way using a long lens because it just fits better on a screen. And I put all that shit in slow motion and I did all the things like I've cut what was actually 4 seconds of footage because, you know, I had 120 frames per second. I can make that 4 times as long, right? So I can make like a whole reel out of nothing but my dog sitting. I've done that shit. I haven't gone as far as to put the powder on the dogs and like take those photos. I haven't gone that far, but I've even done dumb shit like put my dog at maximum, like I put him at a football field away in a down and zoomed in on him with a 8K camera with a zoom lens that I unzoomed as he was running in. So it just got like 30 seconds of my dog running full clip without the frame changing. Like it just head on and posted that. And like, what does that demonstrate to me as a dog trainer? Like literally nothing. All I showed as a dog trainer was that my dog could hold it down long enough for me to set up the camera. And then I held the ball behind the camera and said he could have it. And then he ran to get it. And doesn't exactly showcase any skill other than like a lot of fucking editing went into that. Color graded it, looked mad, fucking did the keyframe, like literally every frame was aligned to the one before. It took me hours, but it was COVID. I had nothing else to do. But
yeah, good point.
But what I'll say is that one of the things, and it gives me pushback, is when you see people saying, don't look at these trainers. And I know that's not what you're saying, but don't look at these trainers with their Malinois demo dogs. That doesn't relate to you and your pet dog at all. And I always think, for starters, it absolutely does. Because this is the thing, when people go, the people who are like, oh, he got a Malinois and now he's got like this incredible demo dog and actually do cool things. Like as if the dog trained itself. As if like, you know that scene in Babe where the fucking pig goes up to the sheep and is like, tells them the secret password? And they're like, oh, right. Okay, we'll do whatever you say.
Ram you.
Right? Like as if that fucking, like when you get a Malinois, the breeder goes to you, hey, we've been keeping this on the down low from all the like non-Malinois people, but there's this secret password and you just got to whisper it in your Malinois' ear just once when you get home as a puppy. And then that's it, highly trained dog for the rest of your life. You're like, no, mate, that's not how it works. These things are borderline insane, and you have to spend all the time making sure that you keep them on the right side of that ledger, keeping them sane, doing all these things. And so, yeah, for sure, like they're way more trainable. And doesn't it make sense as a dog trainer that I get a super trainable dog? That's one of the things that people then say to me like, oh, why don't you get like a Vizsla or what was the one recently? Someone like it was Mastiff. Like, why don't you get a dog like really driverless dog so you can show us done? I'm like, because I'd rather fucking slam my hand in a car door than own a dog like that because I'm a dog trainer. I'm a person that likes to do things with dogs. So I'm going to get a dog that likes to do things also. And I've been that person because I had a Springer Spaniel who was off tap, right? Like he's genuinely one of the highest drive dogs I've ever had in my life. Very soft, different kind of drive, but still extreme kind of drive. And I had a like wonderful, big, powerful Malinois, both of which have the capacity to be super reactive, menaces, like absolutely both of which could have been disastrous dogs. Remy in the wrong hands could have been a really dangerous dog. He could have really been a problem for a random person who doesn't know how to handle that kind of dog, which is a lot of dog trainers, right? And so that's my point, is that I'm a Formula One driver. I want a Formula One car. And that doesn't mean that I can't help you drive your jalopy. That's cool. Like, I know how to drive the jalopy, because Formula One car drivers, they start driving go-karts for real. Like, you look at Lewis Hamilton started driving a go-kart. In the same way, us as dog trainers, we're still putting our hands on whatever it is, right? We're starting with whatever we've got. But then when you develop a skill set, you go, okay, well, now I want a partner that matches that level of skill set. What I'll say as well is, so now I've got an old Malinois. Remy's 9. Val's coming up on 12 years old. Remy's an old man. He's here. You can't even tell. He's not running around the background, just sleep on the couch. Valerie at nearly 12. She's completely deaf. So I've got 2 old dogs. And what the fuck do I do for content-wise of these dogs? I can't really show my own dogs in any content because there's nothing happening. They go everywhere with me, but they know that, like I said the other day, I didn't even know Val was deaf for ages because I didn't tell her to do anything. She just is always doing the right thing. So there's nothing to show with those kind of dogs. And so if you're a pet dog trainer and you've got the perfect demo dog, then you can only use that dog like for training and stuff like that. And for sure, but there's no content being demoed with that once you have it, right? Like it is what it is at that point. Nobody's showing slow-mo video of powder coming off the dog at the cafe as you're sitting there having your coffee, which is mad. Like, good for you that you can do that. And that's awesome. And that is the goal. And for so many people, clients, that is the goal, right?
Absolutely.
That's
the
sure
overwhelming goal is to have a dog that's settled in the community, is community safe. Community safety. I mean, because it's so punishable not to have a dog like that, and it's so scorned not to have a dog like that. Further to your point, what you were saying before, more so you're an extreme personality, and the pursuits that you follow are quite extreme. Even your job that you had was a job that not many people would say, I want to do that. I want to be dropped into the middle of hellfire and go and do dangerous missions and so forth. Like, people love the thought of it in watching movies and so forth, but the reality is that they don't want to do those sort of things. Like, it's too over the top, it's too dangerous, it's too risky. But that suits your personality. You're like a person that likes living large and living big and doing big things and so forth. Another point that I want to add is there was a time ages ago when I was a younger guy that I was doing some working out with a personal trainer. And the best guy that I ever trained with was a guy who was roided out to the max. He was a steroid monster. He was such an extreme guy. And I got the most gains ever in the gym with this trainer. He was amazing. But I could never put on big size. And he said to me, to go to the next level, you're going to have to consider doing steroids. There's no other way to do it. Like he said, you're doing the dieting.
You're going to have to get a Malinois.
You're going to have to get a Malinois. Exactly. So I said, look, I don't really want to do that. I'm more pursuing a fighting.
More of a shepherd guy.
Well, I'm pursuing a fighting career. I didn't want to be a big steroid monster. But I completely admired him. Like, he did all of the disciplines. He ate so clean and so healthy. His bed routine, he did all the things that people now think is modern science. But back then, when we're talking 20, 30 years ago, he was doing no TV after 8 o'clock at night, no eating after the last meal, getting up and going for walks and doing all the things, sunshine in the morning, everything that modern people now talk about, but he was taking steroids on top of it. And because of that, he got fucking massive gains. He was a big guy, but also the best trainer that I've ever worked out with because he was committed to everything. There was another guy that I was training with, which was a non-steroid guy, and he was also great, but he looked more like a gymnast than a big buff dude. But, mate, I've heard it from many points of view, yours included, on the pros and cons for it. I spend a lot of time with people who have got the opposite of the dog that you're talking about, and they're more happy with that dog. Like, the thought of owning a dog that's too boisterous, that wants to move too much, that wants to do too many things, that would completely disrupt their lifestyle. That dog would be in rescue or worse. There's a counter to that because back in the day when bulletin boards were a big thing, there was this whole training dogs and drive talk going on. And everybody wanted to jump on it. Everyone's going, I've got to get onto this thing. It's new, it's zany, it's crazy. Everyone's doing it. But the feedback was, this is a disaster. Like, the dogs are fucking my life up. Like, they've
just unwind that a little bit because we've talked about that in the past, and someone gave me feedback about they don't understand this idea of training and drive. Now, there's someone in Australia that thinks that they own that term, but it's a book by Godfrey Dildai written in the 70s.
Godfrey Dildai and Sheila Booth, yes. Training Dogs in Drive.
So written Training Dogs in Drive.
Yeah.
And that book really was a tipping point in terms of something akin to the force-free revolution, really, in that it was away from compulsive negative reinforcement. And like, you don't have to think yank and crank. You can just think guiding pressure, but keeping the dog lower in arousal and saying like, hey, I'm going to say this word and then I'm going to compel you into this position. It's in your interest when I say that word to do that position without me having to compel you. And I think to many people, we think of old school training as strictly yank and crank. That's one of the things that's been really interesting, mate, talking social media is like I put up a post a couple of weeks ago talking about, I said in it, give the big correction. Right. But then in the demo video, the dog actually beats me and I don't actually really get a chance to give the big correction. I jump out of the position and I don't actually manage to get the correction on. And the hate because people freaking out. And there's these comments, welcome back to the 70s. I'm like, hey man, this is not how things were being done then. This is a different thing, right? And you're imagining because there's compulsion that this is bad. But it's not that all compulsion is bad or that it's even people in the 70s that the way that they're training dog, there's this thing now of like, oh, we're so much better. We know shit they couldn't have imagined. And it's like, no, mate, for starters, you weren't there. I wasn't there, so you don't fucking know. But you're imagining that everybody's helicoptering the dogs. You're missing the point that like compulsion can be a very different thing. And absent the bringing the dogs up in arousal, like if you're fighting arousal with compulsion, for sure, compulsion can get pretty dicey, right? Like if you've got a dog that really, I want that thing, even if it's appetitive, like I just want to go play with that dog or I want to chase that ball, whatever. And you're like, no, you're going to sit. Yeah, for sure. That sit can be difficult to get through, right? And maybe tips into places where you and I go, hey, there's a much better way to do this. Like we can capture that motivation the dog has for that. We can capture that for something else and we can control that. But absent that big external motivator, just like gentle insistence is what was the most common form of training until people started realizing, oh, we can bring the arousal level up and train in drive and get the dog wanting to do stuff. It wasn't as strong a mix towards like, we're not talking about don't shoot the dog here. We're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That was the introduction of the idea of like controlling arousal, right? And pointing arousal towards the behaviors, and through behaviors, you'll achieve your reward. Am I understanding that right? Am I explaining that right?
Mate, I think you've done a good explanation. There's something that I wanted to add to that because you're very accurate in what you were talking about in relation to the decades that passed along in training. The term that's been used quite frequently, we've used it and others have used it, is the word echo chamber. And I feel that if you go back in time, we just didn't have the exposure to like what we've got now. Like the internet has been a curse, but it's also been largely a blessing as well, because instantly and readily and accessibly, we've got information at our fingertips that if we want to know something, even now with AI, like that's changing the paradigm altogether. But instantly we can get online and we can go searching for how do I develop a grip better? And you can have a multitude of videos and you can kind of narrow it down to a common denominator when you're seeing like 5 people doing it a very similar way and you can see the dog benefiting from it. Whereas back in the day, I had a blessing because I was very fortunate to be raised up by a group of people, mainly Boyd, but a group of people who also traveled and listened to other people and very curious about what the world was doing. But we had to wait. That was the thing. And until you get the information, you're kind of working in an echo chamber of the then and now of what is the best thing to do until someone comes along from another place and says that's not the best thing to do anymore. You know, like now we're doing this and you guys are probably 6 months to 12 months behind on what everybody moved on with. When you'd have areas and locations, I know I'm getting a little bit away from what you were talking about, but this is relevant anyway and it was on my mind.
Yeah.
But in places like Europe where you've got multiple countries and dog sports were pretty big back then and they were unhindered and there wasn't so much pressure from society and governments and everybody who's ruining fun around the world. all of those European nations got together and they'd cross borders and like they compete with each other. They would rival each other. They would help each other. But they would also go and learn from each other. And it was very easy to do. So Germany would go to Holland. Holland would go to Czech Republic or wherever it was. Like they would all pass around France, anywhere in those European nations where dog sports and raising dogs and cool dog things were happening. These people were sharing, changing, competing, and it inspired a revolution in how to do things better with dogs. And then the United States was also getting involved in it, and people were making VHS tapes back then. People like Dr. Stuart Hilliard, who's still around and still lecturing, and he's a genuine doctor in animal behavior. He was one of the big revolutionaries that we used to watch back in the day. But you had to wait months and months for a video to be posted out from the United States, and then you'd watch it. And by the time you were watching it, learning from it, the world was turning. Things were changing. Now we've got, again, to use the phrase I used before, we're blessed and we're cursed. We're blessed because we actually do have an array of wonderful people who aren't spiraling out of control and letting their ego get online and telling people, you can have this, you can have that, it's all wonderful, and look at all the glitz and glam and all the jazz hands things that I'm doing. I'm doing my jazz hands that people can't see. But you can have this, and it's amazing. But one of the points is some people don't want that. And they're not interested in what people need because they're not talking to people that way. They're just saying, this is something that I like and you're going to fucking do it because this is the cool thing. And if you don't do it, you're not cool. You're a piece of shit and you don't raise dogs properly. That's not true. That's where people get deflated over these sort of things. But if they do want that sort of stuff, maybe that's the sort of person they need to go and talk to. Like the guy that I did some gym work with back in the day. Like he was fucking awesome. And people used to say to me, don't go to him. He's a fucking cheat. He's a junkie. He's a steroid user, blah, 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 blah. He might have been some of those things. All of them, some of them, none of them. I don't know. He admitted to me at the start. He said, yeah, take steroids. He goes, look at me. I'm fucking enormous. But I'm in the gym every day. I'm walking every day. Part of my daily routine in life is working out. That's what I love to do. That's my passion. I compete. I'm enthusiastic about this. I love helping other people learn to do it. But if you don't want to do this, you can still rise to the best capability of where you want to go with it. And I did. I got great gains by working out with this guy. He was terrific. Shout out to him. He might listen. He was a dog guy as well back then. But he was great. Really good in what he did. And I've had the same benefits from dog trainers before. Like I've gone and humbled myself before people who I needed to. I needed to go, I guess I don't know everything. I thought I did, but I guess I don't. And there was people that I'd go, hey, can you help me with this? I'm shit house at this. I just don't know how to do it. I don't know how do you achieve these goals with dogs the way that you're getting it? How do you make dogs focus this well? Like I've been used to doing it a certain way. And that was wonderful because they'd open a window to me and show me an insight where I wanted to do. Again, referencing clients that I've worked with who are very frustrated and like they see some of these videos online and they think, oh, I'm the worst. Is this what you're supposed to do with dogs? And I said, what do you want? What do you actually want to do? I think that's the most important conversation that we need to have before we say anything else. What is it that you actually want? And they just say, a dog that I can just enjoy with my kids. Go on a walk with and just enjoy. Let the dog off lead when we go for a picnic in the park and know that the dog is not going to run over to somebody else or worse, run out onto the road or something like that. Cool. That's a great starting place. That gives me an idea of what we need to work with. And yeah, we've still got some very high bars to raise here. We've got some enormous mountains that we have to be prepared for, but that's what you want. That's what we're going to do. Where other people, they want it all. They're insatiable, and then you've got to have that conversation. Well, you got the wrong dog for it. This is a great learning platform, but you got the wrong dog for it. That's not the dog for this quest that you've seen yourself out on. So there's lots of thoughts and opinions on what is the best way to train a dog. But the very important question is that people should be focusing on is what does the client want? Like, are we talking to sporting dog people? Yeah, then you need to go as deep and as far into it as you possibly can with the best people who've done it themselves, who can actually service you to teach your dog how to do those amazing things. Because you're saying to me, I want to be an elite level champion. That's what I'm chasing. That's what I'm pursuing. But you got a person that's saying, no, I've got a dog that's crazy and it's out of control and my neighbors are pissed off and, like I'm one step away from getting a dangerous dog order. You got a completely different outcome. You got something else that you need to work on. Some people want a toning up. Other people want a toning down. If you're not a trainer that can do that, then move on, find someone else. But if you're a trainer that can do that, That's what you should be saying on your social media is, I work in all facets. I'm interested in all things. I love the sporting side of things, but I also love teaching people how to get the best out of their dog by living a fulfilled family life as well. Like I said, if you're not, there's no shame in that. There's no shame in that, in saying I'm a high-level athlete and I like to attract those people and I like to attract those dogs. That's my jam. That's the thing I'm interested in. Other people are saying I'm a problem solver. That's what I work on. I work on solving problems for clients. And other people, like we've identified over the years, are just fucking idiots and they're dog destroyers. What they do is they go in, they claim they know all the answers and they know absolutely sweet fuck all, and they literally tip the person's life into a toilet. To steal your funny line that you said a while ago, they slip on their Louis Vuittons and go fucking doing the most bizarre thing in the world. They're the things that drive us crazy. They're the things that we look at and just think, this is madness. This is pure, utter fucking entertainment madness that all you did was put up there for some clout and some likes, because you're just an ambulance chaser. That's what you are. You didn't get in this to train dogs, did you?
We got to reframe because we want to talk about social media stereotypes. So
okay.
This is one of the stereotypes. Okay. So let's talk about one of the stereotypes we see for sure is the fuck you, I'll use as much compulsion as I want, watch me do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like that is for sure one of the stereotypes that we see. And usually, like, I have this whole thing that the world will always stay balanced, right? It will always happen. And when the balance gets too out of control, a big event will happen and the balance will be restored, right? Like whether that's biblically that God sends his flood, right? Whatever you want, like the balance will always be restored. And so when you get outrageous people on the internet saying ridiculous things like never play with your dog because you'll blood it and then it'll be dangerous. And they're the same people that are then saying like never say no to your dog. So when you get one of those, for every one of those that's born, so too is born somebody else who goes, well, time to put on the Louis Vuittons and start fucking working the helicopter, right? Because like the world will always stay in a balance.
Yeah.
And so we have the crazies that are saying, just throw food everywhere. Like there's a dog fight and they're like, just throw food in the air. Like imagine you're at a wedding and it's confetti. We're just throwing it in the air as high and fast as you fucking possibly can.
Stick your finger in the dog's ass.
Then, yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. Quick, just put it in there. Get in there as far as you can. I'll throw the food in the air.
Right to the last knuckle.
Right? No, but we're confusing two things there. See, this is the thing. This is the thing as well, mate, is even the opposite ends of the pole actually are much closer than we think, because we're talking about the people who can't break up a dog fight because they haven't got a fucking clue because they're so force-free they can't do it. And you're invoking an actual video of one of the most compulsive dog trainers out there sticking his hand up a dog's bum trying to break up a dog fight. So we are bringing the two opposites together when we talk about how ridiculous they can be on social media, right? So that's what I mean. They're the same thing. They're like people look at opposites and they're like, oh, look how far apart they are. They're the same fucking thing. That's how like the fifth hermetic principle of polarity says there's no such thing as opposites. They're just different ends of the pole and they're on the same line. There's hot and cold. They're both temperature. Yep. There's stupid, force-free and overly compulsive. They're both fucking idiots, but they're just at opposite ends of it, right? So that's one of the stereotypes. That's a newer one to gain more traction because it's a gutsy fucking move. And also, you know, like you're a dickhead, like it's not good dog training. But I think as well.
It's abuse. It's abuse. What you're watching is abuse. This is the thing that angers people and creates so much ire and frustration in the world is you're actually watching somebody abusing a dog. Like they've lost their shit, and that's their, you know, their level or their modality of understanding is they think this is the way that you resolve it. Now, you made a completely relevant point all that time ago. I think it was 2 or 3 episodes ago where you said, I'm not going to let a fucking outwardly dangerous dog come up the lead and bite me, and nor am I. And there's been times where I've had to handle a dog pretty rough, and people have questioned me on that, and they've got the right to do so because they're coming in halfway through a story and they're saying, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? And I said, oh, the dog was like inches away from fucking coming up the lead and biting me. And they said, what were you doing before that happened? And I said, walking the dog. That was it. Like it got to a point, it didn't want to go any further, and it decided my way out of this to release my pressure of not going forward in this is to come up and fucking take you out. The problem with that is it's a very clear
and
learning.
he's done that to other people and been successful.
That's right. It's a very clear learning moment for the dog. The dog understands, this is how I stop you. This is how I stop from doing is I have a tantrum and fucking use my weapon on my face to take you apart, and I don't have to do it anymore. So, yeah, of course, there's methods where you can teach those dogs, hey, man, that's not going to cut it anymore. The frustrating side for you, me, and all the other dog trainers who don't lose their cool and aren't complete shits to dogs and so forth is that there are times when those dogs have to understand that there's some compulsion going to take place for that. Like, you cannot fucking do that type of behavior. That's not going to cut it. And in fact, it's also life-saving what we're doing to stop you from doing it as well. Otherwise, you are faced with a very real risk that you will live the most miserable outcome because you'll be locked in a hole, solitary confinement most of the time, or you'll have equipment strapped to your face, which in some cases works. I'm not saying it doesn't work. In some cases it works. Or you'll be fucking killed for it. You will die for this. Or we have a patient game of showing you, mate, this isn't the way to do it. There is far better alternatives.
But the difference is, in one instance, the client turns up to us and says, hey, I got this dog. When he sees another dog, he comes up with a line at me. It's a real problem. I've been bitten badly. It's dangerous. At that point,
and there's a fucking lot of those dogs. There's a heap of them.
Yeah, heaps of them. Yeah, that's right. But then at that point, you and I go, okay, sweet. I will meet you at this place, whether it's like a training venue or your house or wherever, and we go, there will be no other dogs there. I will develop a friendship with your dog.
Exactly.
I will figure out who your dog is. I will understand the dog's motivations. I will get in the dog's head a little bit. I will teach the dog about how to understand me when I like things, how to knock it off when I don't like things. Then I will start to train the dog some bullshit behaviors that don't matter, just so that me and the dog become operant together and is understanding this stuff. And we'll be inching towards your dog, becoming a completely different thing that fits into your life. And if we by chance along the way have an instance where your dog goes, nah, I've decided that to enact what has worked in the past and I'm coming up the line, in that moment, I will do whatever I need to do to make sure that your dog isn't successful and continues to think that that's a good idea and that that is the path to success. In that moment, we'll acknowledge that we're in management, right? We're just making sure nobody gets hurt, and we're going to make sure that the dog realizes I'm not going to be successful doing that. That is not the path to success for me. And then away we go in training. Whereas other people will go, oh, the dog comes up the line, give it here. Like, let's watch this. It's actually really easy to defeat that. Watch me do it, right? And that's a completely different way of training. And it's not training. As you said, that's abuse. But the punchline is, if you were to film UI or anybody else who does this stuff for realsy, you're going to get those moments. Those moments are going to happen because I'm not letting a fucking dog bite the shit out of me because it's reactive to another dog. Not only because I don't want to get bitten. Like, there's ways I can avoid being bitten. I can be protected, blah, blah, blah. But that's the wrong learning outcome for the dog. That's not the point of what we're fucking doing there. But it sure as shit ain't where I'm starting.
Yeah, man, there's plenty of times where people have used material against other people, and what they've not done is shown the length of the story. Like, they haven't actually narrated the story. All they did was they took a clip of it, shared that on the internet, which I've seen people do that before, and it just goes to show the villainous, disgusting behavior of some people sometimes, where they refuse to tell the before and after. And that doesn't happen just in dog training. That happens in life. Politicians are the worst for it. They're just subhuman people. It's mainly the spin doctors who do it from professionally, and they don't feel anything about it. They don't care. All they're trying to do is win. They just want to win.
Yeah, they'll never think about it again once it's done.
They don't. Your point before about the dogs coming up the lead, that can be a twofold, very serious issue. It can be a career ender for a dog trainer, and it can be a life ender for the dog. So naturally, you do want somebody skilled and knowledgeable and not wearing a tracksuit that are going to be working on that dog. You do want somebody who understands that when I'm working with this dog, again, using a very valid point that you used before, this is something that we incrementally stage away from the actual pressures of another dog. This is something that we've got to teach the dog, hey, mate, there's some regression therapies that we need to work on here. Like, you don't walk into a therapist office and say, hey, look, I've got some real triggers that is really affecting my life and creating great stress for me and even making me shut down. And then the therapist opens a closet door and exposes you to all those triggers at the time, goes, here, let's just deal with them in the safety of my office. You know, the person gets to know you first. They talk to you. They work you patiently through things until you feel that, oh, I have the tools now to work with this. And this is what good trainers do. They teach you how to have you and the dog, or the dog, to have the tools to work with this very issue.
let's get back to our topic. Other social media stereotypes. What's your favorite dog world social media stereotype? Like, which one do you enjoy the most? Which one do you watch the most?
The one that frustrates me or the one that I enjoy?
Oh, whatever. Which one do you want to talk on the most? Which is your favorite stereotype?
The one that always frustrates me is when I watch people with the dogs that are deemed as, you shouldn't have that dog. Like, that's usually in the comment sections, you shouldn't have that dog if you can't control it. And it is usually somebody, I say this without fear of reprise, it's usually a young woman with a great big bull breed dog who's getting, pulled off her feet onto the street, and the dog is going after another dog and they can't stop it. I've seen multiples of those videos over time. I'm sure you have been sent so many of them. I've watched so many of them. I've seen people doing reaction videos to them where they're giving, like on the spot, cool advice to how to fix those problems and so forth. One of the things that always frustrates me about watching those videos is watching that the dog is usually on a great big fat collar, or it's on some fucking harness or something like that, which, by the way, side note, there's people on the internet who are selling these harnesses, telling them that it's going to fix walking issues. Like, they're convincing people, and they're playing cute music, and it's got a lovely girl. Oh, this is beautiful. You put your dog on these harnesses. I've never had a problem ever again since I put the harness on my little doggy. And you're thinking, what the fuck? Yeah. This is the ire
so
of the
you're advertising that with your 4 kilo cavoodle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not your
that,
XL
I'd love to
bully.
Get the stats on that. You're advertising that on your 4 kilo cavoodle that's going nowhere. But tell me, when you see the sales stats, what size is that harness is getting bought the most? Because it's the fucking extra large one, isn't it? That's going on. They're people who are not using that harness in any way that you're demonstrating.
That's the crazy thing, mate. And that's a very good point. Like, there's people that I've gone out to work on legislative issues where their dog is being declared. They're questions that I ask people. Show me the setup that you're actually putting on your dog. Fat collar, harnesses. And I've said, why did you do that? Like, why did you have your dog on that? Oh, that's what I saw on the internet, or that's what I was advised to put on my dog, or this is what I felt was the best option for my dog. And it's usually, if you peel back the layers, it's usually this is what I was marketed, or this is how I was marketed, like put this on my dog. There was a dog that I was working not long ago, and I had the conversation. I said, have you ever thought about putting your dog on a prong collar? And they, no, couldn't think of that. And I said, yeah, but your dog dragged you across the road into another person's yard where your dog bit their dog and then bit them. And they go, oh yeah. And they go, oh, they're the ones with the spiky nails that come out and bite the dog in the neck. And I said, that's the problem. You've been marketed one tool by a conclave of people, and you've also been marketed another tool by the same conclave of people, one that completely fits a narrative that's safe in your world, which has got you here today. This has caused you the problem. And the other tool, which if somebody like me or one of my colleagues actually came and showed you how to use this with your dog, you'd probably be on a harness or a flat collar by now, being able to use and enjoy that tool with your dog, because we could have brought your dog up through using some of these tools, or maybe even not, maybe never having to. But the person that sold you this or even sold you the techniques has completely failed you to the point now where the sharks in the water can see you. Like the government can see you. You are on the radar. You are on their list. You are a black mark in your local council. And forever, your dog will have a tick next to its name. You and the dog are now unsafe as far as the community goes, until we can try and work through this, if we can at all, if we can convince them that you are safe and that you're going to do all the work. And this is a long road now. I can't even tell you how long. It's as long as it needs to be, as long as the work that you're putting into it. So if you're asking me what frustrates me, those videos frustrate the hell out of me, because I look at them and I say, that is so preventable, watching somebody belly rolling along the ground. And for starters, they haven't even been taught how to stand properly. It's like boxing on your tippy toes. If you're trying to box somebody and you're leaning with your chin forward over your toes and standing on your tippy toes, good night, you're out. Your opponent's going to clock you, and that's the end for you. Because you weren't taught the technique properly. You weren't taught how to move. You weren't taught how to counter. You weren't taught how to defend. And all those things need to happen when people want to consider owning these giant breeds of dogs. Like I've got a lovely client up here in the Hunter. Michaela's her name, and she's got this beautiful black cane Corso called Omen. Mate, she's the dream client. She listens to the podcast. She's on the internet watching scores of good trainers. So she's been raised in a very good way by a lot of other people. So really all I do when I go around there is just confirm you're on the right way or slightly alter the direction that she's going in just to show her how to do something a little better or to save her some, like fix her pain points and things that she's doing. But people like that are your dream clients. Like they're not causing problems. They're not saying, oh, I won't touch this equipment. They're saying, all right, well, tell me the pros and cons of everything and then I'll explore it and then we'll work within the realms of what we're doing there. Whereas again, going back to when I see those very preventable mistakes from happening, I watch them, but every single one of them frustrates me. Every single one of them annoys me. And no wonder people are using them as marketing campaigns because they are something that I personally believed when I started training dogs in the 90s that I wouldn't see by now. This wouldn't be a thing. I honestly believe that in my heart and soul that you would not see dogs doing these sort of things. I thought we will be so impressive by the time we get into the 20s. You just would not see this sort of shit anymore. The opposite is true. It's overwhelming. Now I know it's so opposite. Now I know that, we used to see these sort of things on TV called Funniest Home Videos. And that came on once a week where you get a collection of people doing stupid and dangerous stuff. And, like they'd have, do you remember that? You'd have all that canned lava. People, oh, look at this person falling off a bridge. Yeah. Now that's every second. We used to get it once a week for 60 minutes, with TV ads in the middle of it. Now it's every second. You can go on YouTube while you're having a poo in the morning and literally flick through disaster after disaster. So it's projected into our living room more. The algorithm, as you've pointed out and others have pointed out, it beams into your head exactly what you're thinking or what you're talking about or what you're looking at. It just says, oh, you like people fucking up. You like controversy. You like government stealing all your shit.
Fat people falling over. And it's like, motherfucker, I do. I'll watch it every time you show it to me. I don't know why, but I watch it every time and I go through the full emotional range. I feel sorry for the person. Then I'm hysterical. Then I'm disgusted at myself. And I go through the whole range.
Exactly.
And then I flick up and I watch another one.
Yep.
There's type of social media accounts that frustrate me, but I want to talk about the ones that I love.
Okay.
Have you ever seen the ridiculous pampered dog ones? Have you ever seen those? They're usually either in Hong Kong or China.
Oh, yeah.
They're usually like a chow or like a Shiba Inu, something like that,
Or a
like
little Pekingese,
dog.
not a Pekingese, a Pomeranian.
Yeah, something like that.
A cute Pokemon type dog.
Yeah, and the dogs love it. And it'll be like a full minute-long reel, super tightly edited, kind of ASMR style. You can hear them opening and closing all the packaging of the many and various products that they'll use on the dog. And the dog just sits there or stands there and is clearly enamored by it, because I think that's one of the things that you and I can't speak for you, but certainly I can speak for myself. I constantly find myself saying to people, decide what you want to do with a dog and then get a dog that wants to do that. It sort of cycles back to what we were saying at the start. I like doing lots of fun shit with dogs, but mostly it's not just bite work that I like doing. In fact, it's training dogs to do complex things. I really, really like the process of saying to a dog, hey man, I've got a thing in my head that I want you to do. And I'm going to spend the next 6 weeks trying to explain that to you. And we're going to incrementally move towards that, me and you together in tiny steps. And we're going to figure it out. And we're going to get to the point where I tell you to do this thing and you're going to do it super powerfully. You love it. To me, that's what dog training is. That's what I enjoy doing.
Yep.
And so I constantly, when people say to me oh, why don't you do it with a bulldog? I'm like, well, I don't because a bulldog doesn't want to do that. Right. So me and the bulldog will then be together not wanting to do it. And so we forget
Good point.
Right. So for real, when I was training that XL bully, Kai, man, he was hard work. He was fun because he was pretty high powered, right? A very, very high powered dog actually, but just dumb and not dumb, just is not looking to solve the puzzle. That's not how his brain works. He is not looking at me. When a Malinois looks at you and goes, hey, there's something going on. I've got to figure it out. This is going to be awesome. And you're going to tell me in little increments as to whether we get it right. And then we're going to both have this overwhelming feeling of success. And I understand when you give me that ball, that's because I've just done the right thing. And that's going to indicate progress. The bulldog looks at me and goes, hey, give me that ball. I want it. And okay, but I need you to do it. Give me that ball. I want it. right? Like just no, like, okay, I'll figure it out. There's no interest. It's like, I want it. Totally different thing. Anyway, so they're the kind of dogs I like, but for sure, there are dogs that are like, no, I want to sit on a pillow most of the day and be pampered. I want some person to just point all of their love, attention, and obsession at me. And I just want my hair washed, and I want to be blow dried, and I want to be sprayed with little scenty things. And I want to do all that while being filmed sitting on a pillow. And like, you can see those dogs love it. And they're the best accounts. So they're my favorite social media accounts. And like, for sure, it's crazy. I'm not buying a single one of their products. I'm absolutely not their market, right? Like they are wasting all of their algorithm time on me, because I am never going to do that. Like when my Springer Spaniel gets all knotted and dirty, I just hack at her with clippers, right? Like that, she's always a patchwork of, because like I'm not into fancy grooming dogs. My dogs don't want to be fancy groomed. I just keep them clean and functional. But watching other people do it, if they edit it nice and tight, and they hit the beats in the music, and they have the right clicks as they open their like little container of wipes that are specifically for wiping the goo out of their little dog's eyes. If that clicks just right as the ASMR of the video lets it open, I'm in. I'm watching that 10 out of 10 times.
Yep.
What do you like? What are you into? What's your secret social media?
My secret social media? I always find myself circling into the working dog stuff. Like it's something it's the boring safe answer, but it's one of the things that keeps coming up. But the trick things, like watching Omar Van Mueller-esque type people doing trick things with their dogs. I love complex skills. The new thing that a dog is doing, that somebody is like cutting their own path with a dog. Like I love seeing those sort of things, because then I like to imagine, like the increments and how they did it, how they created the chain, each little shaping process, and how they linked it together, and whether they were using forward or backward chaining, and just narrating through my head the process of how I would actually do it. Those sort of things are pretty cool. I love the challenge of looking at those things. Also, like really cool scent detection stuff, like when people are doing fun stuff with their dogs and the dog looks like it's having a great time and people are having a great time. Those sort of videos are really in my league. I love that sort of stuff. It's just, I guess what I'm trying to say is I love watching people celebrating life with their dog. That's that to me, it doesn't matter what they're doing. When I watch a really good video of somebody that has got a dog, and if you could sit down and interview that dog and ask the dog, hey, what's life like with you? And they would say, the family I live with are just the coolest people ever. We adore each other and we respect each other, and we just have this most fulfilled life. They're the kind of things that I look at and I kind of think that's why I got into this, is to try and help people do that, is to try and help people have fun with their dog and enjoy it, and not have all of these disasters unfold around them, because that's where I have my frustration. That's the counter videos that I was talking about before. Like I watch those videos and they show up in my algorithm because I watch them, and then more gets shown to me, which creates high levels of anxiety and frustration. But then I think, I know that that's happening now, so I need to go and look for the opposite of that video. And that's when you were asking what's your secret like. And then I started to find like other cool videos of dogs having really impressive complex skills. Like I watched this dog years ago. It was a Dalmatian in Japan, and the guy taught the dog to ride around on a bicycle. And I was just overwhelmed with how cool that was. Yeah. And he actually showed the process of like getting the dog on the little seat that he made. He custom made for the dog to sit on this little seat and putting his feet up on the pedal, and the dog would just go, just ride around in circles on the fucking bike. And I'm thinking, that is just fucking fun. Like how cool would that be? But then I'd also think to myself, I wonder if it's fun for the dog. I wonder if the dog liked doing this, or if it was a very compulsive style of exercise where, like the dog started to enjoy it, but then it got into an operant mode where the owner was saying, if you don't do this, I'll fucking crush you. So those sort of things come into my mind as well. And then everything that I find joy in, like the devil starts speaking to me and goes, yeah, but what if he fucked the dog up trying to do this? Like what if the dog now feels like I'm in fear of not doing it now because I'll get crushed if I don't do it. But one thing that I have found in life is it's very hard to convince a dog to do a complex skill through pressure. Most of these things, you can do it through pressure. You can. I'm not saying you can't do it, but you'll likely find that there are very significant tells in dogs. Like you'll see their body language and their demeanor dip considerably because they have been pressured onto it. Whereas some dogs will just give up on it. They'll go, "Oh, I'm not doing it altogether. I'd rather, roll on the ground and die here than do this exercise." Which, you can tell a lot about trainers, and you can see a lot about what they're actually doing and achieving with their dogs, because the dog hasn't got this quizzical look on their face where they're going, "Oh, this is cool. What are we doing next? Like, this is amazing. I can't wait to explore this new behavior with you." There are tells. There are tells with people. There are tells with children. There are tells with dogs where you see those sort of looks. Like I love watching videos of kids with their parents or boys with their dads, and they're doing cool things outside, and you can just see, the happiness and the joy, and they're just thinking, this is the best moment in my life right here, right now with my dad doing this cool thing. And you see a dog doing that sort of thing, and you can just see that same sort of thing. My human and I are doing the best thing in the world right now. And then 5 minutes later, it's going, "Oh, I thought I was doing the best thing right now, but now it's the best thing right now." And then 5 minutes on, it's the same sort of thing. And when you watch it, it's almost comical when you watch it, but you're also watching somebody who really did understand and had great knowledge of how to speak to a species and make them clearly understand what was going on, but also show them that they were safe and loved in that environment as well. That's the sort of thing that I love about dog ownership. That's the sort of people that I deeply respect, because when I watch that sort of thing, I know I'm not watching some piece of shit that's just marketing fucking regurgitated vomitous material on the internet. I'm watching a remarkable human being who didn't forget what it is to be a remarkable human being and sharing their life story with a dog that it may not have turned out to be a world beater, but they've thought, "You know what? I still love this dog. This dog is my friend, and I'm sharing a life path with this dog. I'm not just going to trade it in because it's not bumping up my likes and jacking up those numbers. What it is, it's fun." And I've seen people make remarkable social media out of the very dog that they've got. That's not a world beater. Like the things that you're talking about, where people have just pampered their dogs and they've got fucking hundreds of thousands of views. And you look at it and you go, "Oh, wow, people are interested in other stuff just than the stuff that we're looking at." This is a very long-winded way of me just saying is, if you've got a dog, enjoy your dog. And if you want to learn about cool dog stuff, then you can learn it to the greatest capacity of that dog. It doesn't matter. If you want to do cool dog, if you've gotten down your journey and you're thinking, "Yeah, I'm learning stuff and I'm enthusiastic about it and I want to do dog sports," don't push a dog into dog sports that doesn't want to do a dog sport. Get another dog that wants to do dog sports. You can have a dog that can be your family dog that loves hanging out with
fucking dogs. Why not?
Pet dogs. Yeah. Yeah. You can have a pet dog, and you can have
10 dogs.
Have
Get 10 dogs. Everyone should have a minimum 10.
Yeah, have 10.
You know what I want to see in terms of what you're saying, and like for anyone listening, find me these accounts, please, and post them in our discussion group, is people who teach complex skills for a purpose and then show the breakdown of like what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Like Sue Chipperton, I'm looking at you. Like next time you're training a dog for a movie to do something, even like if it's just like the dog has to walk in off screen, go to this thing, pick this up and give it to the person or whatever.
Yeah, so
like
instead of just shitting in your bed and blaming it on the staff.
Yeah. Make some content. But for real, because like I'll blow some smoke up Sue's ass. Like Sue's a really good trainer. She trains dogs to do quite complex things. And I think that is the kind of stuff that like, it's the ultimate combat to what we've been talking about in the extremes of both ends, because you get true balance. Like, no, I need the dog to do this thing. And so we're going to create guardrails with compulsion and make sure the dog stays within there. But the dog's also going to the dog has to enjoy it. The dog is going to do it. Got to be reliable, like movie stuff. You got to train that one place and then do it another. And I've never been involved in movie stuff. I've kind of skirted around the edges of it and I talk to people who are, but like time is money. These are the times where you can't be standing there on set going like, he thinks the fucking moon's a tennis ball. We got to wait till like that doesn't fly. Like you got to be able, the dog's got to be able to do it. And so I think that's where we see, like, I would like to see those steps broken down. I want someone to make that. And it's like, maybe that already exists. Someone show it to me, but if not, Sue, get on it. I want to see it.
Do you know someone
that would be amazing. Be like, hey, here's the scene in the movie where the dog does it. These were the steps and how I broke it down. That would be
someone legit
awesome.
used that line on me about the moon being a tennis ball. That was a legit line that I've heard someone say back in the Schutzen days.
I mean, it's a good one. Like, it's creative.
It was. I was very impressed how creative it was. I just went home and drank a lot just to try and forget that I ever heard it.
What was happening? finish us with that story. Like, what was it that was the dog barking at the moon? Like, was there something going on?
We were
Was it
doing
a full moon?
Yeah, there was a full moon there. We were at a place in Melbourne and we were doing tracking, and the dog just kept refusing to do the track. Like, it was more interested in just run around, fucking around. All the other dogs that we're doing with, their tracking work was, between intermediate and really shit hot. And this one dog, the thing that troubled me was it was from a very experienced person who has achieved good results, but I think they were so super frustrated at the dog's behavior that they just needed an excuse to try and save face. And they were just saying, oh, yeah, my dog's so high prey, like he's seen that big moon in the sky and now he just can't get his eyes off it and thinks it's a ball that's just lingering up in the sky. And I said, okay, that doesn't sit well with me. And then them and I got into a huge argument about it. And I thought, okay, I just should have shut my mouth and said, you live your delusion. That's fine. I think for some people out there in interwebs world, sometimes you just got to be like Kenny Rogers. You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. That was a time where I should have held him.
So I, for sure, would not agree that the dog thinks the moon is a tennis ball. But at a full moon affecting the dog, I'm in. Like, if they just said, oh, he goes crazy at a full moon, I still don't want to accept that. But I could be like, yeah, okay, for sure can affect the dog's behavior. For sure affects people's behavior.
It does.
Now, I've been obsessed, as people probably know, I've been obsessed with that 3-eye atlas. And that's been an interesting sort of investigation of social media because I'm really into it and I'm looking up. So I have found the right people who give the right information, right? So I've fallen into the algorithms of geophysicists and actual astronomers and shit like that are actually releasing correct information. And then comparing that to the nonsense that you see online, like the James Webb Telescope releases the realest photo of and it's like a full spaceship, right? And you're like,
you can see people moving around on board.
Yeah, like we're waiting on the best photos from NASA because they haven't released them for insert fucking crazy reason here. But those photos are going to be to a fidelity of 30 kilometers per pixel, right? So they're going to be the best photos. That's the closest that it has gotten so far to something that can take photos. So each pixel is going to represent 30 kilometers in the photo. When we get those photos, we don't have it. So if you're looking at a photo of 3-eye atlas and it's more than 1 pixel big, you are not looking at a photo of 3-eye atlas, right? Like you're looking at a photo that somebody made with AI or whatever. But what's been super interesting is I've fallen into the algorithm of this guy, Stephen Burns. People should look him up. He's got like 500,000 followers on YouTube and he's a geophysicist / space weatherman. And he does these space weather reports and he talks about like the alignments of planets and coronal mass ejections and basically what's going on in space weather and how that affects weather and things going on Earth. And mate, it has blown my mind because the guy is not like this isn't astrology, but he's saying, well, because of this astrological alignment that creates this electromagnetic field, which like the Earth is in or out or whatever. And he really like explains it quite incredibly. And he's a real scientist, but he's funny as well. Like sometimes he like does his thing wearing a tinfoil hat and shit like that. So like he's funny, but it's been fascinating to me to see him explain like last week was a full supermoon, right? Which means that the moon was full and it was as close as it gets to Earth, right?
Mm. Yeah, I saw it. It was
moves, right?
enormous. I took a photo of it. It was enormous.
It was wild. But then he explains like this has effects on our magnetic field. Like it has real tangible scientific effects that can be measured. And those effects affect some people and animals.
I can give you a real-time example of that. Like any time that we were working security at nightclubs and so forth, we always knew that if there was a full moon, we'd get full moon crazies. Every fucking
100%.
time without fail. All the staff were prepped. We always said it's going to be a full moon. Expect people's behavior to be off the charts. And without
100%.
fail.
And hospitals are the same. They know emergency departments. Yep. Yeah, they know it all is part of the cycle. So if this person had said, he gets fucked up by the moon, I would still be like, okay, well, that's something we got to work through. Like we can't just be like, well, my dog can't track on a full moon. But then to say he thinks it's a tennis ball and he wants to chase it, then I'm like, okay, we crossed the line. You went too far. You had me until tennis ball.
There you go.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So it was like
the moon.
Mate, it was like a fucking basketball. It was so fucking big.
I don't trust it.
Yep.
I think there's weird shit going on with the moon. I don't trust it.
Yeah. It's not
I think
real.
that we should wrap this up before we get called conspiracy theorists again and somebody makes a big public announcement about not listening to us
I've
again. because we're
never,
conspiracy
ever in my
theorists.
life got any cheese from the moon. That's why I know it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The moon's weird, man. There's some weird shit. I don't trust it.
Yep.
I think that's up to no good.
Yep.
All right. That sounds like the place to end the episode.
It is.
Hey, that's it. Another episode, Canine Paradigm. As always, if you like what you hear, just like, rate, share, subscribe. Go to whatever social media account you have and tell people to listen to us. Whatever your genre, whatever your stereotype
Whatever.
you fit into.
If you like sticking your
Tell us
finger up
what
people's bums
stereotype
or
I
dogs'
fit into.
bums, just go to that social media group and say, hey, they were
Yeah.
talking about this. You know, like
They were talking about you guys.
They were talking about you
Yeah.
guys, like the 3 Knuckle Deep group.
Yeah. This guy, this fucking idiot believes in the moon and its alignment. He reckons a dog can't change. All right. If you want to support the show, you should do that in Patreon. That's the best way to do it. A few bucks a month gets
Yeah.
you a giant backlog of stuff, new stuff going forward. You could give as much or as little in there, and we really appreciate it. We make the jokes about it. We don't push, like we mentioned at the end. We're terrible at the business side of this. We're still running an ad that's a year old with a bunch of people that don't even pay us anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
It's so long. We have to fix so many things. But we just talk to each other and say, have conversations you can come along the ride for. If you want to support the show, another way to do that is to get some like cool merch. We've got t-shirts and all kinds of stuff. Can't help but notice how many people went AI when we asked for like a new dog shit
Dog poo life.
t-shirt. Dog poo life. There were so many AI things I got sent. I bet the chat GPT was probably like, what the fuck has happened here? Like,
Yep.
what has caused this spike in dog poo related?
You'll be the first people that we eliminate when we become your masters.
Oh, we are laughing, but it is imminent. All right. If you want to get in touch with us, you should jump in the Facebook discussion group. That's where we source information. We have conversations with people. We're always posting in there. We're still trying to keep that going. But if you want to get in touch with us directly, shoot us an email. We are info@thecanonparadigm.com. Love you all. Goodbye. Don't trust the moon. Don't trust the moon.
Why? What's in it?
It's up to no good. I'm telling you.
It's made of cheese.
Moon's up to no good. Don't trust it.